for joining us today, because I will try to give you some insight and advice about how to make it in crypto. And while the title may suggest something differently, we are not going to talk about trading, getting rich overnight, flips and so on, but we are going to talk about your presence in crypto and how you can make it in a business perspective and of course in a personal perspective, where you can grow your presence, recognition, and build future opportunities from that alone. So yes, as I said, thank you for being here, and I hope that the next hour or so should be interesting to you. And yeah, let's get started, and we will have a Q&A at the end, and I'm looking forward to answering any of your questions. So first off, introduction. So this session is basically, as I said, all about understanding how to make it in crypto from a personal and business perspective, and we will cover the social aspect of it, community aspect, recognition, networking, how you should do the networking, and we will go in depth of how you should actually behave in a professional manner, learn and approach the Web3 space, which is so much different than Web2 space. And of course, I will try to teach you how important patience is. And as I told you before, since I do have the ADHD and hyperactivity, patience is definitely not my strong suit. So on my experience, I think that you will be able to learn how to nurture that patience and how it can benefit you in the end. So yeah, let's get to the actual points that we will cover. So we will cover where to start. And when I say be realistic, I mean that in a way where you should be realistic with yourself and be honest with yourself in which stage are you at when you are starting. So don't lie to yourself. Don't think that you are too big for any kind of job. Don't think that you are too big or above anybody else, and always be humble and always try to be as honest or as transparent as you can be. So second part is how important is the community and how to network in general inside of these communities, but also inside of the Solflare community. Third point is that your Web2 experience matters in so many ways. Like if you have Web2 experience or if you don't have Web2 experience, it all kind of translates into what you can do or can't do in Web3. Fourth point would be how important are IRL events. For example, Solana Breakpoint, Solana Crossroads, Accelerate, hacker houses, whatever kind of event that is being organized even by super teams across the world and so on, because they are important, and we will cover also that part when it comes to your overall growth in the Web3 ecosystem. Fifth point is how you should act while making connections. So I've seen myself doing a lot of mistakes, I would call them like that, while trying to connect, desperately trying to connect with important people in the space. And I will show you some examples how that turned out. And the last thing is, what is the role of your self-branding and X presence in all of this? So on personal and business-wise, and how you can make the best out of your social presence and basically your self-branding moment when it comes to basically all of this that we will cover today. Okay, so first things first, where to start? At the beginning, as I said before, be honest with yourself and try to understand in which category do you fall when it comes to your self-brand plus business experience. So we have I identified three points. It's a beginner, intermediate, and pro as a professional. So basically a beginner is somebody who has none to little Web2 experience, and that is in business sense of things. And from a personal set of things, if you have under 100,000 followers, you would be considered as a beginner in some sort of recognition, exposure that you have in the space, and so on and so on. Of course, these numbers with followers are not set in stone, because somebody with 3,500 followers can, for example, have much more exposure because he's producing better content than somebody with 10K plus followers. But this is just to give you a feel of how we are trying to evaluate certain profiles or whatever. So intermediate would be that you have 2 to 3 years of experience in the Web2 in any kind of area, And on a personal side of things, when it comes to your self-branding, you have 3,500 or more followers, and you already started to gain some sort of momentum, but you are just not quite there yet when it comes to being recognized across the board. And of course, third is somebody who is a professional. So somebody who is a professional in any kind of Web2 business. So he has a 5+ years of experience in Web2, but he has none or little experience in Web3 and would like to start in Web3. In terms of personal self-branding, there is somebody who has over 10K followers and already has a nice recognition, nice exposure, and so on. But of course, you can always do better. You can always do more quality content, more quality exposure, and of course, more quality when it comes to your interactions with people. So all of these three are equally important to understand. So when you identify in which category do you fall, and for example, when I first started in Web3, I was definitely a beginner when it comes to my Web3 knowledge and when it comes to my X profile followers. I had like 150 followers and I was tweeting about metaverse. So basically metaverse was a big thing in late 2020, beginning of 2021. Everybody was talking about how metaverse is going to change the world and shape our future and shape our reality and so on. And I was tweeting about these metaverse tokens, decentralized and sandbox tokens, if some of you remember those. And I was basically getting like 1-2 likes from my friends and didn't get much attention. But on this business side of things, I was definitely a professional because I had 5+ years of experience in marketing when it comes to social media marketing, performance marketing, advertising, brand marketing, and so on. And I was working for 10+ years in a marketing agency. But that was my Web2 experience. And now I had to find a way how I can make that my Web3 experience and how I can make that marketing experience my strong suit when approaching Web3. So how I started was basically that I didn't even start from a business point of view. I started from a degen point of view. NFT was starting to heat up. The bull run of NFTs was starting to basically start, and I was in all of these different communities trying to buy my way in and flip these NFTs, make as much money as I can. And to be honest with you guys, at a certain point I've reached like 500, 600 Sol, and I was like okay with what I have made, and then I lost it all in one rug pull. After that, I lost all of my confidence, obviously. I thought, okay, this is over. I have nothing to invest because on a personal side of things, I was not earning enough in Web2 that I could invest a large amount of money into Web3. And that made me realize that I was again starting from scratch. So again, I started with like $200, $300 worth of NFTs, flipped them again, and went up to 1,000 Sol. And then I lost it again in another rug pull. And you would ask yourself, okay, so how are you able to lose all of your portfolio twice in the same way? Well, I don't have any answer to that. It basically, a degen in me was stronger than my reason and my logic. So I again invested all of my portfolio in one project that turned out to be a huge rug pull. And I again started from scratch. But this time I had 2 rug pulls behind me. I had NFT bull run behind me. I had a lot of connections in community behind me. And I was able to start fresh with more experience and more knowledge. So after that, I started to build up my X presence with all of these communities, obviously. But I also started to realize how important is the community and how to actually network. So community, I would say that it's the most important part of it all, because all of the connections that I got in this space are coming from all of these communities. And these communities that I put here are only examples, and I will now tell you stories about them, are examples of communities that I found to be of the most value for myself, but also communities that I invested in because I thought at that time that I'm not investing in NFTs. I weren't anymore investing in NFTs to flip them, to make money on them. I invested in NFTs to make friends, to make connections, to make business connections, to be a part of those communities. And trust me, guys, being a part of community, and this is actually something that I explained to my best friend, basically, who is my friend for over 25 years now, that being a part of community does not mean that you will buy an NFT, you will join the Discord server, and that's it. No. And how I know that, and I will now call him out, I don't care. He actually bought DKS NFT, DKS Noble, which is also from the famous lineage, my lineage of my Dead King. And he just bought that NFT, he joined the Discord, and 3 months later, I got the question, okay, but I joined the community, where are the job offers? Like, why I'm not getting the job offers? Like, you said that there is a lot of opportunities and so on, but for now I didn't get my money's worth. And I was like, yeah, that's maybe because you didn't send a single message in that Discord server, and that you actually didn't talk to anybody. So talk to people. That's the main way for you to connect to people, is to talk to people. But don't talk in a way where you are obnoxious, where you are impatient, where you are acting like a fanboy of somebody or of some project. Just talk to people in a professional and humble and honest way, and you will get your way eventually. So, and this is what I want to explain to you. Like, now that I've said this, somebody would say, okay, so here is a cat PFP or cat logo. I will buy a cat, I will join their Discord server, and I will make connections that will give me job opportunities. That's not true. So there are a lot of communities out there, not only NFT communities, of course. This is just an example of communities that I was part of, and most of this I'm still a part of. But of course, there are Telegram communities, there are X communities, there is Solflare community, which is definitely not NFT based or ever will be NFT based. So NFT communities are just an example of a community that is strong, that is connected, because everything actually started with NFT communities. The first communities ever arose on Solana were NFT communities. So if you buy a cat today, you will join their server, you will feel the vibes, you will feel the degeneracy, you will feel the memes hitting you in the face like every single second. You will feel the sense of belonging into a cool community. And I love cats to death, but cats won't make you business opportunities, because cats are comprised of degens. Cats are comprised of people who are there for the vibes, who are there for the friendships, and for people who will maybe or may not attend some IRL meetups, but that's it. So when you're talking about business opportunities and connecting with people who are higher up the scale when it comes to, I gotta say, importance in the space, so basically founders, builders, investors, and so on, I'm afraid that you will have to spend a little bit more on the NFT in order for you to connect with those people through those communities. There are other ways that you can connect with them, and I will cover that also, but we are not talking about community. And of course, you see here DKS, you see the Lucy Drakes. These are expensive and potentially unaffordable NFTs for the most people. And to be honest, you really don't need to be a part of those communities to be connected well in the space and to thrive from those connections. For example, Galactic Geckos are very, very, very connected and strong community. The floor price, I think, is around 6 SOL. So it's not that, obscene, but you are able to join a community which is full of builders, full of great people in the space, and full of people who are ready to help you on your way to actually understand how you can thrive in the Web3. So as it goes for MonkeyDAO, like a lot of people are also joining MonkeyDAO because it has this recognition as OG collection, the Gen 2 and Gen 3 also, and so on. And people instantly think, okay, I will join MonkeyDAO, and I will, because I have that PFP, get the connections, I will get job opportunities, I will get investment opportunities. Again, that is false. Monkey DAO is one of the, and trust me, I love monkeys. I adore monkeys. I own 6 or 7 different monkeys. But monkeys are a community that has shown that having a large community and being recognized as the OG collection does not necessarily mean that the community has great quality over quantity. And they had a lot of ups and downs and so on, but basically you will also get a lot of superficial connections which will not lead you anywhere when it comes to these deeper connections and for you to work for something or somebody. However, all of these communities, like, doesn't matter if you're connected to builders, investors, or founders, or if you are connected to a common chat from a server who is just spamming memes, doesn't mean that connection is more valuable than this connection. So basically, if you just find a person who knows somebody else, you can definitely take the opportunity and start working in any kind of environment possible. For example, here in Solflare Discord, we have I don't know how many moderators, which were given the opportunity to work as moderators, to start something somewhere and so on. Myself, I had 10 years of experience in marketing. I was a marketing manager. I was leading the social media team in a marketing agency. So I could at some point think to myself, okay, I'm too big for some sort of a community role manager position whatsoever. But I started in Web3 as a simple Discord mod, and I was earning half a sol per month. And sol was worth around $100 back then. So I was making $50 per month as a community mod on Discord, and I was ecstatic with that. I was happy with that. I was happy that I was being for the first time recognized by other people. Oh, you are the mod from that server. And I was like, yeah, I'm that mod. But it's about long run and how are you making connections in the short term for that long run to pay out after a few months, years, or even decades, who knows. But just invest your time. Don't think, as I said in the beginning, that you are too big for any kind of position that is offered to you, and be prepared to work in any sort of scenario that you can in Web3. And I can assure you that even the lowest position, it might seem as a low position, will get you the connections and the opportunities, if you are willing to take them, that will bring you higher up the ladder, going further down the line. So start thinking of communities that you want to be a part of. Start to work your way up. Invest in those communities if you are, of course, able to, but don't think of that money as being stolen, lost, or basically even stolen. Like somebody will buy an NFT and say, okay, that money is gone. Yes, that money is gone if you don't put the effort into actually connecting to the people of that community and actually trying to make the best out of those connections that you make on the way. This was my first NFT that I bought in 2021. Broken Robot Burger Bar. You can search it up on Magic Eden or Tensor. It's a dead project. It now has like a floor price of 0.0 something. I bought this NFT for 3 sol, and it was my first investment outside of Sol cryptocurrency that I made. And I actually still have this NFT in my wallet. And this was my entry point to this community aspect of Solana. I started to talk to people. I started to talk about different traits of the NFT. I started to talk to founders. And I ended up being a Broken Robot Burger Bar Discord moderator, earning half a sol per month, and actually starting to earn my way up by connecting to people and making friends. In the end, and this is something that's, I think, worth mentioning, the person that I met in Broken Robot Burger Bar was actually the person who DM'd me like 4 or 5 months ago saying, look, I remember you from Broken Robot Burger Bar. Do you remember me? I started a new project. Are you available maybe to collaborate on it? Of course, I declined because I'm now at Solflare, I'm at a happy place. But this just show you how all of these connections that you make on the way can potentially benefit you in the future, even if like this was 2021. So 4 years have passed and this person DM'd me and remembered me from those times and offered me a job. So, and this is actually a true story, honest to God. So start somewhere. Don't think that you are too big for any kind of position, and just grind your way up. And don't ever give up, no matter what rug pulls, scams, or some sort of obstacles you encounter, because nobody believe in yourself if you don't believe in yourself. And that's why I said that your Web 2 experience matters. So some of you have to have Web 2 experience, some of you don't. But for example, myself, it was pretty obvious. I have Web 2 experience in marketing. I should somehow take advantage of that in Web 3. And what I started to realize is that in Web 3, there are a lot of phonies, a lot of people who pretend like they are professionals, a lot of people who pretend that they are marketing experts, they are KOLs, they are influencers. In reality, I started to realize that these kind of people know actually so little about marketing and about real world marketing and business that I thought to myself, look, if I just put 40% of effort that I actually do in my Web 2 job, I would be able to outperform these people by a large margin. And then I started to reach out to people. Okay, you have this project, can I help you with this? This is my CV. I have 10 years of experience in Web 2, blah, 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 blah. And did I get anywhere with that? No, not a single reply. Nobody replied to me. Nobody cared that I had 10 years of experience in marketing and that I worked with Jaguar Land Rover, Mercedes, Nike, Samsung. It didn't matter. Why? Because my approach was kind of pushy. So I approached these people in a way where I was constantly reminding them, yeah, hey, have you seen my message? Hey, can you answer me? Hey, no, you're just being obnoxious. People won't reply to you. If somebody doesn't reply to you after your 2 messages, move on. Move on. You will get to them in a year, in 2 years, in a few months, whatever. Just move on and go meet other people, go to IRL events, go to other community meetups, try to make your way to them in a different direction. So whatever you did in Web 2, use it. And I'll guarantee you that you will find your spot under the sun eventually. And this is actually one of my monkeys, one of my favorite Gen 3 monkeys. So what I did in Web 2 was marketing. And I thought to myself, okay, people are not responding to my messages. I can't get to anybody actually recognizing me as being competent of doing this job. How can I then show them that I know to do this job? Then I started to tweet, and I was tweeting about marketing. I was tweeting about marketing practices. I was tweeting about how I helped Mercedes, how I helped Nike in their sneaker launch, and so on and so on. And people started to notice. And after a while, my ex-boss, who was my boss in marketing agency, in Web 2 agency, actually offered me a place to be a speaker at local Game Changer event. That was the name, Game Changer. It was an event about gaming, about crypto, about new technologies and so on. And she knew that I liked crypto, that I liked NFTs and so on, and said, look, Tin, would you like to be a speaker? We don't have anybody else to fill the spot, and maybe you can do something there. And to be honest, I was terrified. I didn't know anything about crypto on the scale where I could actually educate an audience of a full movie theater, which was in the end the case. But I took the opportunity. Richard Branson said, if somebody gives you an opportunity and you are, or an offer, and you are not certain if you can do it, take the offer and learn how to do it later. And that was exactly what I did. I took the opportunity. I said, okay, I will be a speaker. And I was a speaker on Web 2 versus Web 3 gaming and how Web 2 gaming is affecting Web 3 gaming. And I was learning day and night about Web 3 games, gaming, technology, play to earn technologies, and so on, and mechanisms. And I was a speaker there. I think that I did good. I was so nervous. I stutter, and it was a total mess in my head. But that event was actually the event where I met Voshi, who is one of the probably most recognizable people on Solana. He is the founder of Grid Academy. He is the founder of Blast Control Agency, which is also a marketing advertising agency. And he is also one of the Boogles, one of the Lucid Drakes, DKS, and one of the biggest whales in crypto. And he is also Croatian. And I didn't even know he existed. But because I took the opportunity that life threw at me, I was for the first time being able to meet somebody in person who is actually important in the space. And I explained to him my situation. I explained my passion for the crypto, and by the way, this was 2 years after I started my crypto journey. So I was heading nowhere. I was two rug pulls behind me, and basically some money in my portfolio, but no connections, no social presence, and no job opportunities. I met Voshi. I started to connect with him, talk with him, learn from him, and in the end, he landed me my first job as a marketing advisor for one company that was actually then minting, and that was Bastards NFT. If any of you remember them, it was a huge hyped NFT mint, and I was actually being able to being their advisor, and that was my first job that I did in crypto. And then I started to make connections. I connected with Jesse, who was the founder of Bastards. He is also in the Boogles, and I started to work my way up. Then I started to work for Sniper Marketplace. I started to work for Techros. I joined DKS. I joined Lucid Drakes, and so on. Sorry, my correction. I joined Lucid Drakes after I joined Solflare, because Solflare is actually the one owning that Lucid Drake. But everything that I mentioned lead me to that moment where I was able to say I'm a part of that community now. So be part of communities and try to use your Web2 experience in any way possible. If you're a fisherman, it doesn't matter. Fishing taught you to be patient, right? Fishing takes patience. And you need patience in crypto. If you're a programmer, if you're a developer, if you are a speaker, if you're a presenter, if you are a salesperson, if you are an advocate, if you're a legal, any kind of job that you do in Web 2, you can also do it in some way in Web 3, or use the skills that your Web 2 job gave you and use them in Web 3 in any way possible. And believe me, there are a lot of opportunities out there, and I would all encourage you to go to my profile, X profile, and actually search for the tweet that I retweeted, or a thread from Fabiano, where he actually mentioned all of the platforms where you can search for Web3 jobs. And when I searched through them before I retweeted that post, there are so many entry point jobs that you can do, that anybody can do. And people are simply just, when I asked, for example, two of my friends, why are you not applying for this? And they were like, I could maybe do better, wrong mentality. You need to start somewhere, and you need to start grind your way up. Great example, and this is something that I would also like to share with you, is Nitore. Nitore is a fellow DKS king, who is now a DKS king, but he actually started working for Techros for free as a Discord moderator and as an ex-community manager. He worked 4 months for free without pay, just to be able to use that role to get him the connections he needed. He connected with me because I was working in Techros. I connected him to Dylan, who is founder of DKS. He was connected to all of other people who are currently in DKS, and he worked his way up, and he now bought a king. He is now working for several projects, and he is now I would say, a full-time Web3 employee. So you got to start somewhere. Don't be afraid to do it. How important are RL events? I think that I covered it pretty well with my game changer experience, but this is the image that the picture that I like so much. Maki, myself, and Jamie and Stroll from Monkey DAO. Jamie is the founder, Stroll is their executive, and this was at Solana Accelerate in New York this year. So if you have the opportunity to go to any kind of RL event, go. As Maverick in Top Gun said, don't think, just do. That 100% applies to going to RL events. I know that some of you don't have the opportunity to go to RL events. Some of you are coming from developing countries. Some of you are coming from high inflation countries. It's not easy to travel. It's not easy to go to these events because the travel alone can be very expensive. And in the beginning, I didn't have the money to go to any kind of event because I was in debt. 5 years ago, I was 20,000 euros in debt. I was owing money to the bank. It was around 20,000 euros. I didn't have a place of my own. My girlfriend and I, now my wife, were living in a rented apartment. And I definitely didn't have nor the time nor the money to go to these kind of events. But when I first went to Game Changer event, which obviously came to me as an opportunity through my Web2 company, and after that, I paid, and this is also a true story. Don't think that I'm exaggerating anything here, because I really want to be as honest with you as possible, because I really want to see all of you succeed in any way possible. I actually spent my only 800 euros that I had of my savings to go to Solana Crossroads in 2022, and I bought myself a plane ticket. I booked myself some sort of hotel for 2 nights, and I was just at that conference connecting with people. Hi, my name is Tin. I am a marketing specialist, I am a crypto enthusiast, and I work with Sniper Marketplace, with Bastards NFT collection, and so on and so on. People knew nothing who I was. I was nobody to them. And I was making friends with people from Solana Foundation, from oh my God, what's the name? From Mad Lads at that point, also from Solflare. I met Vidor there. I also made friends with some of the Phantom people and so on. And after that conference, when I got back, do you think that I got a single message from all of those connections that I made? No, not one message. And I follow up on those IRL conversations that we had and said, hey, do you remember me? I'm Callahan from the Crossroads. We talked about potential collaboration and so on. Seen. Not a single response, because I am nobody to them. They don't care. They are too busy. They have too many meetings. They have too many other opportunities which are far more important than one Callahan offering them to work with them. So, did that discourage me because I spent my last 700 or 800 euros on that trip? No. I worked my way up again. I saved some money, and I went to a hackathon in Munich. I think it was a German town, I'm not sure, but I think it was Munich. And I did it all over again. Hi, my name is Callahan. How are you? I work with that. I know marketing. I know Voshi. I am willing to work for da-da-da-da-da. I came back. I got one reply. And I started to work with the guy who was actually one of the lead developers in Solana Foundation on his side project, and I was his marketing advisor for one of the projects. It was not a very big gig. It lasted like 2 months, but it made me some sort of money and some sort of sense that I am valuable to the space and that I can actually contribute to the space with my knowledge. And that connection, which came after 2 events, remember, on that first event I made no progress, lead me to connections in Solana Foundation. I met Austin Federa, who was leading their marketing department at that point. I also did something with him on the side. It was also nothing big, but we started to talk more about it, and I started to make even more connections. But you gotta realize how small was I, or how unimportant was I back in 2021 or back in 2020 before I got to all of these steps that I'm now mentioning. So if you can go to any kind of IRL event, please, I'm begging you, just go. Go, talk to people, meet people, and just be a part of those communities. And I'm pretty sure, and this is maybe not alpha, or maybe it is, but I'm pretty sure that Solflare will also offer some sort of opportunities, or I would at least hope so, for at least some of you to join us on some of the future events. Because, and if that happens, don't miss on that opportunity. You gotta take it, because that's the only way that you can make real connections and to feel people in person. Okay, so while you're making those connections, how you should act while making those connections. People think, as I thought, okay, it's enough for me to introduce myself, it's enough to send a tweet, it's enough to tag somebody, it's enough to jump into somebody DM. No, it's not enough. Don't bother people. That's what I mentioned before, is don't bother people. If they want to respond, they would respond. And of course, there are exceptions. And I'm also talking this on my own behalf, because I still have a ton of unread messages on Telegram. I do have unread messages even from some of you on X. But of course, when you have hundreds of messages unread, then it's hard to prioritize to which you will respond or which you will not. But at the end of the day, if you send somebody a reminder that you send them a message and you still don't get a response, potentially you won't even get it. So don't bother that person anymore. And as I said before, try to make your way around and approach them from a different angle. So these two examples are from 2023 and again 2023. I was working for Chum's NFT project. Has any of you heard of Chum's NFT? Of course you didn't, because it never minted out, and if it did, it would be a rug pull. But that's another story altogether. Basically, I started working for Chum's NFT because I couldn't choose with whom do I want to work with. I wasn't in that kind of situation or in that kind of position. So I started working with them and so on, and starting to shilling or trying to get as many partners as we can. Ilmoi, as some of you or most of you know, is a Tensor founder and a very cool guy actually. I met him at the Solana Breakpoint in Singapore. I shoot him this message: hey Ilmoi, my G, trying to be nice, trying to be professional, taking care of my grammar and everything and so on. I didn't get a response. I tried to reach out to him on Telegram. I didn't get a response. Okay, I moved on. Then Trancy. I actually worked with Trancy. And as you can see here, I said, you remember me? I used to work for Sniper. And Sniper Marketplace was a pretty big thing back then, because Sniper Marketplace actually had one of the most advanced technologies when compared to Magic Eden and Tensor, but they just didn't get the attention or the momentum of Magic Eden and Tensor. And that's part of the problem that they had with funding and so on, but that's not important. Anyway, I worked with Trancy. We were working on the same project. For 6 months, I worked for Sniper Marketplace. And I asked him if he would consider me for the Sniper badge to be an ambassador for Sniper Marketplace. And for free. I wasn't even asking anything in return. And he said, sup bro, let's catch up soon then. And I was like ecstatic. I was like, okay, nice. I will get the badge of Sniper Marketplace. I will get more reach because I have an affiliate badge. I will get recognized and so on. So I said, okay, for sure. Max, who is the founder of Sniper, also suggested that I should be an ambassador. And I said, Max suggested the same thing. So maybe the three of us can hop on a call. What do you think? And what happened? I got seen and never got heard from him again. This just shows you that people will often offer you help, often pretend that they want to collaborate with you, often pretend just to be nice, to pretend that they want to help you in any way possible, but in reality, they don't want to do that. So, don't take it personally. It's all business here. Everybody is here to make money. Let's not lie to ourselves. Of course, making friends on the way is nice, and I have some of the best friends actually in my life that I met in Web3. So that is definitely not the case. But why we all started crypto? Because of money, and because of money making opportunities. So don't take it personally, move on and go to other people. Send as many messages as you can, but be humble, be nice, be professional. Grammar matters, trust me. I have spoken to many founders, to many builders, to many investors. When they get the DM that starts with low capital letter and it doesn't have punctuation and it doesn't have spaces in between paragraphs, they are enraged. And I've talked to them. I've asked them, why didn't you answer to one of the guys that I've sent you? Take a look at this message. And it was a wall of text with no commas, no exclamation points, no dots, anything. And he just simply don't want to respond. So grammar matters. Grammar check your messages if you are not that fluent in English, and then send a message and then to reach out to people. And the most important part, please be patient. Be patient, not where you would wait, 2023? 2 years or more for an answer from Ilmoy or Trency, but be patient in getting any kind of response from any kind of person. Just reach out and don't be discouraged. Reach out to people. Somebody, 100%, somebody will answer you. Reach out through Solflare community, reach out to Solflare team members, reach out to DKS members, Lucid Drakes members. They're all nice people. Reach out to monkeys, reach out to famous foxes, reach out to anybody that you're following on Twitter. Somebody will actually respond to you. And I think that here in the audience, I'm not sure if he's with us, but Darius, who is very, very active on X, and who is also trying to build up his presence, and he's a big Solflare supporter, and I like him so much. He was waiting for my response in the DM for a couple of months, and that was my fault. It was under message requests, I didn't see it, and so on. But eventually he did get a response from me. We got into a conversation. I will be now in his stream. We will potentially be friends. And I really appreciate that guy, because he was patient. He didn't bother me. He didn't shoot me 7,000 messages, and he was actually so polite and so humble that is the prime example of how you should act when trying to reach out to somebody who is a team member of any kind of project. So Darius, big kudos to you, and I appreciate you so much. And I've seen now that you said thanks a lot, Callahan, 100%, because that is the way how you should approach these things, and in any other way. So that is how you should behave, and how you should approach people, and how you should not bother them, but actually interest them in conversations with you. What is the role of your self-branding and X-presence in all of this that I've now shared with you? I think that, well, basically I've already told you that I had 10 years of experience in marketing, but I was getting nowhere with that information alone, because nobody cared that I had 10 years of experience in marketing, because they didn't know who I was. I didn't have any kind of recognition. Callahan was nobody to them, and don't get me wrong, Callahan is still nobody to many people, but at least at this point I feel that I got a support of the people that I want to have the support, and that I have the connections in the space that I am comfortable with and that I'm happy with. But of course, a lot of people still don't know who the fuck Callahan is and what he does, or why is he important for Solflare, or why is he even important for any kind of community. So building your self-branding, your self-presence and your self-brand basically takes a while. I didn't get to more than 3,000 followers for 4 years. Like 4 years I were under 2K, tweeting constantly, being active, trying to get a reply or a follow from big accounts, every single tweet that I made was about these communities, about people, about market conditions, and so on and so on. I was trying to get as much attention that I can from X community, and of course I always linked those X posts into different communities from, of course, NFT communities, and trying to get as much engagement as I can, because all of these communities usually support their members when they tweet something out. So then I started to change my strategy a bit. And to be honest, I was a huge fanboy. I owned Mad Lads, which are of course now the a collection of our competition backpack. But I was a huge Mad Lads fan. I had a lot of Mad Lads, and I was tweeting like a basic fanboy. Mad Lads are the best. Lads to the top. Lads on top. Backpack. My whole timeline was filled with Mad Lads and backpack, and I was acting like a true fanboy. And I was getting engagements, but only from Mad Lads holders and only from backpack enthusiasts. And that gave me the impression, oh, I'm doing nice content. People are recognizing me. No, they're just liking my tweets because I'm talking about their project. Of course, they're going to like my tweet. But all other people were probably annoyed by my constant tweeting about every single topic every single time. So I changed my strategy. I started to talk about other projects, other people, quote retweeting influential people from the space, actual KOLs, and so on and so on. And I started to build up my following a bit more day by day. But that also took time, which means that you definitely need patience. You won't get there overnight. It took me 5 years to get to 10K plus followers. And also, to be completely honest with you, I probably wouldn't also have 10K followers if I didn't run that giveaway where I gave $3,000 worth of rewards because of my Grid Academy earnings. But of course, that's also my personal choice, that I was able to give back to the community, and I wanted to give back to the community that money, which was funded by Solflare. So by doing that, I think that I, in some sense, deserved those followers that I got. So it doesn't matter how you will get to those followers, or how those followers measure on some sort of quality scale. But what's important is that you are constantly present and constantly trying to give back to the community, not only with money, like money is not important here, but with your presence, with your kindness, with your support, and with your ambassadorship of whole Solana ecosystem. All projects in it, of course, unless it's Phantom, and all the people who are on Solana. So your self-branding basically defines who you are. In Web 2, it doesn't matter who you are. It's important what you do, what you can do, and what your experience. In Web 3, this is what matters. This is what matters. This, and this. These two examples, of course, you all know Sol Big Brain, the biggest investor ever on Solana, at least public investor. Of course, there are larger investors than he is, but the biggest public single investor, we can put it that way, who made it in Solana and totally branded himself through MonkeyDAO. SMB was his PFP of choice, and he hasn't changed it for I don't know how many years. He did briefly for a couple of months, but he always went back to MonkeyDAO. And everybody who sees this PFP knows that is Sol Big Brain. On the other hand, this is NFT Doctor, who is a Boogle. And of course, as you all know, Boogles are even now selling for 1,200 Sol, 1,300 Sol, which is crazy. But he branded himself through Boogles, and he also got his following through his takes on the market, through his trading, and so on and so on. And he is an actual medical doctor. So he is an actual doctor in USA, but people didn't care who he was until he started to tweet about interesting stuff that people thought were interesting. Then he bought the Boogle, and of course, he is a doctor, he has nice earnings, and he could afford his way in by acquiring a Boogle. He bought a Boogle, and then he built up his presence in the space. And for example, for people like me, who didn't have the cash to invest at the very beginning in those kind of expensive communities, we need to be humble and be realistic and go step by step towards the top. So this is what self-branding is all about. Be consistent about your profiles because it's about your content, and try to keep your profiles clean, because I think that you already had the workshops on that topics as well. So definitely take the lessons that you got from there. And to be honest, I did see a lot of improvement of many of your profiles. I'm basically all day long on Twitter. When I'm not working, I'm on Twitter looking at my timeline, looking at your profiles, looking at what you're tweeting. So I see a lot of improvement there, but you definitely need to self-brand yourself and being recognized as whatever your aliases are, or what your PFPs are. And now, also, to be 100% honest with you, I love DKS. There is a DKS jacket on my door. There is a DKS branding all over my shelves. I am a dead king. That is how I brand myself and how I recognize myself in the space. But I was tempted many times to change my PFP, to go from my king to my monkey, from my monkey to my fox, because I really like the art of foxes. I wanted to change my PFP to Lucy Drake's when Solflare acquired it, but I didn't. Why? Because you lose your recognition in the space when you constantly move from one PFP to another. Dr. Peachy, who is leading Cats, actually also has a lot of NFTs, more expensive than Cats, and he actually started to lead Cats now recently. He didn't lead the Cats before, but he branded himself through Cats NFT. That NFT is worth what, like half a soul, but it doesn't matter how much is it worth. What matters is that it is then connected to your persona. Sol Big Brain, he is a millionaire. He has millions of Solana, and he has a PFP which is worth now like 16, 17 Sol. An NFT Doctor has an NFT which is worth 1,300 Sol. It doesn't matter. It matters that you are consistent and that you brand yourself in that sense going forward. So this take, and now while talking about this, I may sound like a life coach, and don't take that against me, but this is something that I truly believe in and that I want to also share with you. Your choice is whether you want to believe this or not, but the quote goes, there is no luck, only opportunity, and those too weak to seek it. What that means? It means that I honestly don't believe in luck. Every kind of luck that is going on in this world is basically when it comes to where in the world are you born. You can't influence that. You can't influence who are your parents. You can't influence where are you born, to which country, and in what conditions or in what environment. But everything after that, in your middle school, in your high school, in your college years, in your youth, in your learning phases, in your whole life, everything comes down to your decisions. And why do I say that there is no luck? Because I think there is only hard work and opportunities that we are often too afraid to take. I told you about that opportunity of me being a speaker at Game Changer event. I was terrified. I was this close to saying no because I didn't feel confident enough or even professional enough to be able to educate people or being a part of this panel. But I said, fuck it, let's do it. And this kind of attitude will, and now think about this for a second. If I haven't said yes to that opportunity to be a speaker there, I wouldn't have met Washi. I wouldn't have started working for Sniper Marketplace. I wouldn't have started to make more money. I wouldn't be being able to join DKS. I wouldn't be able to work for Tecros. I wouldn't met Maki in a way in which I met him, and that was the way where I shielded Tecros to him for Solflare to use Tecros. And Tecros is now also a part of this Discord server. And in the end, I wouldn't be where I am today, and that is leading the performance marketing department of Solflare. So that decision alone, 5 years ago, was enough for some people today to tell me, oh man, how lucky you are to have such a great job and to be at Solflare. No, it wasn't luck. And do you think that Maki is lucky because he is in the Solflare? No, he got here with hard work. He got here with grinding his ass up. He got here, you know how? Like this. This is the actual image. Of course, it's AI generated because I don't have the actual photo, but this was me in 2022, and that of course is my wife here. We were taking a vacation of 6 days in Croatian seaside, and this was me on a sniper marketplace team call, which was happening at like 6 p.m. our time. I didn't had off time at all. I was working 9 to 5 for my marketing agency in Web 2, and then 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in Web 3. Grinding, taking calls, trying to be helpful, trying to be as valuable as I can for the ecosystem and for the sniper marketplace. And this was actually me. I was covered with this rock above my head on the beach, on the call, not able to even hear them because internet connection was a disaster. And my wife was there enjoying the sun and trying to be stress-free. But I was so stressed, I was even close to mental breakdown, I would say, because it was so much work. But in the end, it all paid out. I am now at a very happy place. I was able to buy my own apartment with my wife. We are now very happy. I was able to buy my dream car. I am now at Solflare, and I couldn't be more grateful to my choices, but also to God, because of course that is also my personal belief, that I am where I am today. So no matter what anybody tells you, it's not about luck. It's about opportunities that are constantly all around you. It's about you and your decision whether you will take that opportunity, which can then lead you to a lot of bigger opportunities in the future. And in some sense, it does correlate to a butterfly effect. If a butterfly flap his wings, by a chain reaction, there will be an earthquake in Japan happening in a few months' time. And that is the butterfly effect that I'm talking about. And that is because I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work, and I believe in karma. I believe that if you put in the work, if you are humble, honest, and hardworking, you will get your way. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but 100% you will get your way. And I am a living proof of that, what I'm now trying to share with you all. So I really hope that you got some sense or some insight that might be helpful here. I have been rambling for more than an hour now. I hope that it was educational and insightful for you, because as I said, my story really is the story of somebody who started at the very bottom with a debt of more than 20,000 euros, as I said, and become somebody who is now has reached his goals, and everything now beyond this, where I am now, is only a bonus. Like everything else is a bonus. Friendships, paychecks, investments, cars, apartments, whatever, only a bonus. But I'm happy where I am because I know that I took all the opportunities that I could that was being presented to me in the space and in my life, and it was all because of crypto, because of Web3. But if you don't have this kind of dedication, I would encourage you, and this was my advice to my best friend. He bought that DKS Noble, which I told you before. He wasn't active, and I told him, look, you are simply not the guy that will grind your way up. You are not the guy who will sacrifice his sleep. You are not the guy who will make those connections by being present and being in those servers. And that is perfectly fine. Like, that is nothing wrong with that. People are different. Not anybody can do this. And it's not for everybody. But crypto and Web3, unfortunately, require you to grind, and to put everything to rumble in front of you in order for you to succeed. So if you do have that mindset, do it. If you don't, you can try, but don't force yourself into situations that would potentially be stressful for you or harmful for you in terms of your health, your mental health, or anything else, or even sacrificing your relationships, your friendships, or whatever. As I said, it's not for everybody, but if you do have the will and dedication, then I hope that this knowledge sharing session was, as I said, beneficial for you, and that you will take something out of my story here, and that you will succeed in the end in a way that I would like to see you succeed. So thank you guys so much. It was a great pleasure to being able to share this story with you, to share my insights, to trying to get the advice to you, which I think that would be helpful to you in the future, but also today, starting tomorrow, starting the next week, whenever. But when you do start, try to follow these instructions, or basically suggestions, ideas, and advices, and I can guarantee to you that you will succeed.